Adine Roode es el corazón detrás de Jabulani Safari y Heart Trust, el primer orfanato de elefantes en Sudáfrica. Su vida está marcada por una conexión muy especial con los animales, ya que creció cuidando crías huérfanas junto a su mamá en Hoedspruit. Hoy lidera proyectos de conservación únicos, creando lazos familiares entre elefantes rescatados y apostando por un turismo con propósito. Además, promueve iniciativas sostenibles y de impacto social, como cultivos acuapónicos y empleos para mujeres locales a través de Jabulani. Adine es nuestra invitada en este episodio de Be In.
Be In. Conversaciones inspiradoras con las voces que transforman. Gracias por estar aquí una vez más. Tenemos un episodio muy especial. Es la temporada 10 de Be In y gracias a todos ustedes seguimos aquí. El día de hoy está con nosotros Adine Roode y ahorita van a oír, bueno, ya oyeron con Armando la gran introducción y van a ver de lo que vamos a platicar. Adine, thank you for being here today. Thank you for being in Mexico.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be in your studio. It's my first week that I've spent in Mexico. I've been here before, but just short visits.
Short visits. But
yes.
I hope that you have a great time with us today. And, well, let's go back to the beginning. My first question.
Yes.
You grew up surrounded by animals and conservation, guided by your mother, Lente Roode. What was the defining moment in your childhood that sparked your passion of protecting wildlife?
I think, just to take you back in history. So I grew up, as you say, surrounded by animals, wild animals as such. So my grandfather had a farm, and he had cattle on. My dad bought adjacent land and also cattle, but he had very fancy cattle. So whenever there was a lion coming through or a leopard, of course, the losses were huge. So after my grandfather passed away, my dad decided he's going to take the cattle away and make it open as a reserve for wildlife. So at that stage, my mum grew up as a child with a cheetah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, so that was their kind
That's
of,
pretty exciting.
as a dog, yes. So her first thing was, okay, we want to release them, just like 3 cheetahs perhaps.
3 cheetahs.
Yes.
I thought that I was doing a brave thing having a husky. And you're talking about cheetahs. Okay, cheetahs.
So they approached a guy that my mother knew from way back, and he wrote a storybook about cheetah, but he had quite a lot of cheetahs. He had 35 cheetahs. So they approached him, they visited him, I was actually with, and you could see the cheetahs. They were in a good condition, but the place where they lived was not great.
No.
So in that conversation, he actually took my dad aside and asked him if he would mind taking all 35 cheetahs. So when we left there, it was this conversation between my mum and my dad, because my mum said, I only wanted 3. And I said, okay, now you've got 35.
Okay.
So now where's the balance? So they decided to open a cheetah project. Mm-hmm. My dad said, we need to get the university involved. We need to do this scientifically. And
of course.
I think my mum's life changed just there, from being kind of a housewife into running a project to look after cheetahs. So during those years, there was a lot of wildlife that started also needing to get assistance, So we got a full-time veterinarian and, assisted with wherever wildlife needed help. So they might have just stayed there for a few days or maybe a month or 2, and then you can release them. Other animals stayed there, forever. They could not be released. So we even had like tigers, which is not from South Africa, but they were from a zoo. And
you rescued them also.
Yes, and we just rescued them. We kept them there. It was huge camps where they were. And also for the first time, it was amazing to see that when they exit the cages that they came in, they touched grass.
Oh.
And they looked at their paw, before going out. And that was for them, like nearly a shock because they were
How
on
old
concrete.
were you?
I was 12.
Okay.
Yes,
At a very young age.
Yes. So that was kind of, how the center then expanded. In rhinos, we had a lot of rhino orphans. So I had to sleep with the rhinos a lot of time, give them milk every 4 hours. Some of them, maybe if they had a drip, the drip would be up there. And of course, if they wake up, you must go with the drip all around and that it does not pull out of his ear. So we had actually,
You were playing with them like they were your puppies.
Yes, they were.
Or your brothers and sisters.
Yes.
They were your family. Actually,
Yes.
they were your family.
But also, at that age of 12 to 16, you're a teenager. So all your friends go out at night,
And you were with the animals.
And I have to, stay now on the reserve. So it wasn't always fun for me at that stage. I did feel sorry for myself. And then, of course, I didn't went and chat and have conversations with my parents. I rather chose to be with the animals.
Yeah, of course.
And looking back, those times actually gave me a lot of insight and experience, which only came, to help me now at a much later stage, in life. So I didn't study anything in animal care or conservation.
You haven't 24/7. That's
Yes,
your school.
That was my school, and I couldn't ask for better.
And what is very inspiring is that maybe at the moment you didn't think that it was like a privilege to have all the animals with you.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
But here you are.
Yes.
And now you have it.
Yeah.
And going to 2019, you founded Hearth as South Africa's first elephant orphanage. There was a specific story of a beautiful elephant that make this vision a reality at that moment. Can you share with us that story?
Yes, that was a very, very special elephant that arrived, and that actually, I wanted to say, sparked the flame of kind of my vision. So it was definitely, kind of a specific little elephant. And her name is Kanyisa. And Kanyisa means sunshine.
Sunshine?
Yes.
Okay.
So she was found in a snare with, very dehydrated. She's also an albino elephant. So when they called me and asked, what milk they can give, I said, please don't give her milk. So we went to fetch her, put a drip in. She was really very dehydrated. Also didn't want to take the bottle, but I think the worst thing was to see the snare wounds. So a snare, what they do with snares, it's like a cable round, and then it's hanging onto a tree. Sometimes it's on the ground as well, but if the animal goes into that circle,
it catches.
It catches. Mm-hmm. So that snare actually caught her around her mouth, and then around at the back, and it also cut the other side, cut her ear off. Mm-hmm. So these wounds were like raw, and the cable is double, and then also with the knot in. So in the knot, it really went straight through into her mouth. But even if you gave her a bottle, a lot of times she didn't want the bottle because
it was hurting.
It was so sore. So it took really a lot of patience to understand, why she didn't drink from some people. Mm-hmm. But if they touched just on somewhere, she refused, and then she'd not take the bottle anymore.
And founding Hearth was after Hearth, right?
Yes.
Because you were founding around more animals that needed your help, and it wasn't enough to stay with the, let me get it right, Hesk.
Yes.
With Hesk. Hesk was for rhinos and other animals, right? Not only elephants.
Correct. So that Hesk was basically, the endangered species my mum had, and that was rhinos, wild dogs, but the focus, regionally was the cheetahs. Mm-hmm. But having the elephants there, so in the beginning we had the elephants there. Also, our first elephant was hand raised there, also more. But I realized if I take that little baby and I bring him to the herd of elephants, for the baby it's not good, because for 2 years he might not have, seen big elephants and not have seen other elephants. Mm-hmm. So it's just overwhelming. And they would run away towards the people. But the elephants also in love with this new baby. They just, the mothers will just want to take them in. Mm-hmm. And that was just a too big shock for the little ones. So that's how, I decided then to build a dedicated elephant orphanage, which is close in proximity of the herd of elephants, mm-hmm. and that I can do the integrations by looking at what the little one can take. If they are in pain or if they've got diarrhea, you slow down on the process.
And that's what you did with Jabulani the elephant, right?
Yes. So Jabulani were growing up at the Endangered Species Center. And with him, we actually tried to put him back with the wild elephant herd. However, they didn't want him. There were no matriarch that accepted him.
Because he was a long time with the humans.
Yes.
And as you said before, they weren't used to that little elephant, right?
Yes. But also the other thing is, elephants are really amazing creatures. They are super intelligent. They have a social structure which is there for them, So they've got a mother, but they have a grandmother as well. They've got aunts. They've got nieces and cousins. And that whole family structure assists in raising a baby.
Okay.
But usually, if someone, for example, if your sister passes away as an elephant, you'll take your sister's baby and raise it. But if it's a baby from another herd that's not part of the family, they will not accept them.
They reject her.
And they reject that one, yes.
Oof.
So, it's, of course, if there's blood relation, they'll, take them in, and direct blood, they will assist, but not from others. So I think that's one thing where the Jabulani herd of elephants, where they accept little orphans into their herd as if it's their own. They let them suckle from them. They're really genuine, the best mothers that you can ask for.
Like giving them a second chance.
And giving the little ones a second chance.
Everyone deserves a second chance. That's what you're doing is so inspiring. And at Heart, you balance scientific care with deep emotional connection. That's what you're saying right now. How do you do that with your team? Navigate that delicate line between the clinical rehabilitation and the nurturing bonds that these elephants need. Because you have to take care of them, as you told us before, because some of them, they're wounded or they're orphans. But you have to do the scientific thing, but the family bonds, and how do you do that? That's amazing. You and your team, of course.
Yes, I think, looking at science is very important in our life. Everything to understand how things fit together. You need science.
Of course.
And to put you on the right direction. But sometimes science lacks emotion. And emotions, especially with elephants, are truly important. You need the emotions because that is part of their beings, it's part of their existence. And that balance is really essential to take into account. You can go back to science again, on the road. But sometimes you need to just let science go and look at the emotional wellness of a baby and of an elephant before you carry on, with the science. In science, I think for everyone, if it's nutrition, what we eat, It scientifically, showed us that certain, vitamins are needed, things like that. So we need that science. But sometimes, if you're sad, an apple's not really doing it,
Yeah.
then you need a little bit
Let's
more
do a
comfort.
banana.
Yes. It's just that sometimes
You have to
need
change the
be-
road.
You need to have to change the road. Not to be going straight into another direction. You'll come back to that road, and carry on.
Different scenarios.
Yes.
That would be.
Correct. Yes.
To get to the final destination, but doing different scenarios.
Correct.
That's what is
Yes.
life.
Yes. Yeah. So you need to be adaptable, I think.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times as well, so I've got a pediatrician who assists me with the milk formulation.
Okay.
And, I'll speak to him, about things and say, listen, what you're saying to me is not working, all right? I can see that, and, it's either causing diarrhea or, you can see emotionally, it's draining for them. So what do I do? And so he'll give me advice, on things, and then later on just say to me, listen, Adine, you're on the ground. Use your experience, now. We'll get it back, later on. And I think I've got a lot of great mentors, just also to bounce back ideas, because it's quite lonely with times, to make all these
It should be.
decisions. And there's not a recipe that works.
No, every elephant is different.
Yes.
And reacts different. But you just told us, you have the science, but also you have, how can I say it, your guts.
Yes.
And you've been doing this since you had 12 years old.
And I think that sometimes, you start doubting yourself, and that's the worst,
Oh,
You should not do that. You should just close your
that's
eyes.
a big line. We should put that on a mirror. Stop
Yes.
doubting ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing.
Because you think, if I do this and it goes wrong, what can happen? If that, and you
What
go
the
for all
worst
these
that could happen.
scenarios. Yes. And at the end of the day, we need to give our best. And if that's what it is, and it's not good enough, then I don't know.
This is going to be a great interview. It is. And now, Jabulani Safari is more than a luxury lodge. It's an emotional, transformative experience. What kind of connection do you hope your guests walk away after meeting the elephants? And how does this connection help ensure the long-term sustainability of the herd?
I think if I look at, Jabulani, the lodge, we have so much to offer. We've got wildlife. We've got the big five. And in South Africa, the wildlife is our natural capital. And we need to look after that. But to actually be able to share that with guests coming to visit and show them, but then also the smaller details. I always say, to have a soulful safari experience, and that's what Jabulani offers, is not only the wildlife and your great game viewing experiences, but the people, the lodge itself, what you breathe in, what you see, what you feel. It really takes a little piece of your heart, and you leave your heart there in South Africa, but then also part of that is seeing the elephants. So you'll have the wild elephants, to see how it should be. But then also...
It should be very impressive.
No, it is. I mean, if you see these big herds of elephants, it's super amazing, and these females, big females, and then they've got all these different ages that their daughters, children, but also their own, it's really super amazing. And to see the dynamics in such a herd. But then also, going back and you see a herd of elephants that were brought together by fate, by being orphaned from different scenarios, that brought them together, but they were given a second chance. And they took each other as family and made their own family from, I want to say, from odds and ends in a way, because they all come from different areas, different backgrounds, but they're supportive to each other and making a social structure as close as natural as what it can be.
You're giving me chicken pox. That's what we said? Yeah, right?
No, but I love your chicken pox because I also did that. It's goosebumps.
What is the correct way to say
goosebumps.
it? Goosebumps.
But I also said, I said to someone, because that's also a direct translation from Afrikaans. So I also said to
like you,
an agent, I said,
we are meant to be here.
It gives you chicken pox. Okay.
You got it.
Yes. So I have that. Okay. So he still calls me and he says,
now I have a word from Afrikaans.
Yes. It's hoendervleis. Yes. Anyway, sorry.
No, sorry me. It's very inspiring what you're telling us because, they decided to be together. Well, not together. The circumstances make them to be together. But they decide to be a new family. And your guests, they have the privilege to see that. And do you believe that guests that come in being in a certain way probably lives your life in a different way? You change people?
I definitely think so. And also from, what guests' feedback or, people with lots of, I want to say, even emotional baggage that can just be there, but also not only emotional, people that's really got an illness, but being in touch with the elephants, that just something in them changed. The elephants are so amazing in picking up also things without me knowing how they know it, but their smell, their sensitivity towards people.
They can smell your fear?
Yeah, they can.
I'm not fear of animals.
Yes.
Well, a little bit. But they can feel how this human is going to react, right?
Yes.
So they have to be calm, they have to be in silence. What are your recommendations?
No, you know what?
To feel it.
Just be yourself, and whatever that reaction will be the best.
The reaction that it's supposed to be.
We do have people that's really scared for of the elephants and not knowing what to expect. I mean, our big bulls, 40 years old, they like 6.5 tons. They're huge, and it's really humbling to be so close to them. Because they're so strong and yet they like so gentle again. But they just the way they kind of interact with people, I actually can't explain it in words, but it's really touching, and people that's really been scared, how they came out, and really embrace that moment and get over that fear as well.
And you know what? I truly believe that the animals that have been rescued, they know. They know that humans or their circumstance gave them another opportunity to tell it in that way.
Yes.
And I believe that they have much love to give because of that, of what happened.
No, definitely. Animals understand if they received a second chance. Mm-hmm. But I always say to my carers, if we've got a little baby coming in, what we do as carers when they small is going to be there for the rest of their life. So even sometimes, when things go bad, and things can go bad quickly with elephants, mm-hmm. once they on a bottle, feed as a baby.
Yeah.
It's really from 0 to hero.
Oof.
That I've got elephant carers, women elephant carers, because I think, women's got the emotion to care, to look
to control the
after.
situation.
And, yes. But if things go bad, we as women are also more emotional.
Yeah.
And that time I have to take away the women and have men in.
Oh.
Because they're not so attached.
Oh.
And their feelings, are not so open and exploited than women. Because if you've got women, and as I said, it goes really bad, that's emotional and crying around the elephants. It also, they feel it.
Yeah,
and they get more depressed,
mm-hmm.
and they also feel, weak. And so you need to be strong, and kind of bring the emotional well-being, improve that in order to get their physical well-being on the same level. So it's quite, it's really balancing.
Well, you play around with the balance. It's not that it's balancing.
I know.
That you made it.
That's one thing, I think, my motto in life. But now that you say that, my star sign is a Libra. And that is the
equilibrium,
way, yes, equilibrium, so maybe that's why. Now that I've never thought about that, but
probably it could be, and it also makes sense the way you're talking about. Don't worry, it makes sense a lot the way you're talking, the love, the work that you do, and that's why you've been recognized as one of Africa's leading female in conservation. And I can tell why. And I've been here with you for, 15 minutes. What unique perspective have you brought to this space as a female?
I think where conservation are dominant by male figures, mm-hmm. Bringing in, the female version, is also to bring in, the understanding of the other way of doing conservation. Because conservation is very also black on white. This is your
probably
your direction, that you have to go in, and also, bringing in just a little bit of a different scenario to the table, where. Of course, the first thing is, I don't want this to be, but they kind of shoot it down.
Okay.
But if you persevere, and they really understand that, and as I mentioned, we as women are emotional, but not to get them.
Tell me about that.
Yes, not to be emotional in those discussions, but. To really let them understand the direction, that
it's a different perspective.
It is a different
with more
perspective.
love, with emotions. But
Yes.
if you keep it together, like you said before,
yes,
you're adding something new.
No, that's and I think going back to my balance, is really. I mean, I still. The more I can get information from people, I might not agree with them, but they will change a bit of my way in looking at things, and in a way also broadening the facts on the table, and then still to make the call and take that responsibility of what your decisions are. But I think if you keep quiet. And you're not putting your heart even on the table, it's not good in the long term.
Of course.
The more we can kind of get everyone's opinions and listen to each other, the better.
You have to make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, and in your female role, I see also if I can. This is my point of view. What I'm seeing in here, it's like also you're not a taker. Much people is a taker. You're a giver too, and being a giver is why you try to, the good things that are happening to you and your animals, you want to share it. And that's why you're helping the community, doing education programs for schools with the Javu ladies.
I definitely think, yes, I am a giver. If you look at what there are 7
My
love
appreciation
languages.
was right?
Yes, no, it is. And if you look at, people's love languages, mine is to give. Mm-hmm. And I think what I've seen with also the herd of elephant stories, there are sad stories, there are great stories, there are laughter, but sharing the truth and what is authentic actually creates a world that people believe in. Sometimes people say to me, listen, the wind, I can't hear what, the people are saying. But it's not a National Geographic. It's not a BBC. That's,
Yeah, of course.
My first job is to care for the elephants. So what I share with people is to really enlighten them, to share moments with us. And by that, you educate people as well. And I think that's also going back to the community outreach programs. Our natural capital is our wildlife, but we need to teach people about it. And if we just keep it for ourselves, nobody is going to gain anything from that. And we want to be sustainable. We want to have these elephants for generations to come. Mm-hmm. And if we don't get everyone's buy-in, and that's from the community, that's nationally, it's internationally. A lot of times conservation are being run by people that's not in and on the ground. They might sit in offices and dictate. But because, they've got a voice on social media, people listen to them. And the people on the ground that's really doing the work can't be heard because they don't have time for that. They do their job. And I think by that is like getting the word out in, what we do. As I say, I'm never going to save the species. I only do a social conservation bit. I do a very small bit, but I share it.
I don't think that you're doing a small thing. I really don't believe that. I think that you're doing something great, and you have the world, simple as that. You're making a better world, and you're trying to do that. And you have to fight, and you have to communicate. That's what we are doing also this podcast. So everyone around get it. And the people that visit the lodge get it. And with the interviews get it. And the community, if they feel part of an entire whole, it's better than being an outsider, right?
No, that's true. And that's, so all my projects that I run, I need to develop different products to be able to put that on a market, and in a market.
Of course, to sustain it.
Yes, and so you need to be innovative the whole time. And I think that's also one thing, that I learned is you need partnerships, you need collaborations, and take hands. I can't do everything on my own.
Even though you're a superwoman, you can't.
No, but I can get people together in order to grow both objectives of people's,
Yeah,
objectives.
you're helping schools, you're helping Jabulani ladies. You're also doing innovative things like the aquaphonic, the elephant dung, the compost. Just thinking about it, it's like, okay, but you're doing it.
In COVID, I went with my elephant dung compost and I
my
knocked
Lord.
on the doors of all the farmers to buy elephant poo, for the citrus farms. And I would not be able actually to keep up, although I've got lots of dung. And it's a really amazing, to use as a fertilizer, but also combine that with the lodge, all the food leftovers that we make a bokashi with. And you add that to this.
But that's better for the earth than anything chemical.
Correct. And, utilizing that, but also on the reserve. We've got areas where erosion, where the days when there were too many cattle on the farm as well. Mm-hmm. They made a lot of damage, and we have to rectify that now. So bring in that fertilizer to fertilize the soil, but also how do you do that? It doesn't help just throwing it on top.
No.
So that, and that's one of the projects where you make like hollows. It's like a semi half moon,
Okay.
That's like a semicircle, and it actually catches the rainwater that comes down and it blocks it in this, half circle. But then in this half circle, you actually pack like branches with thorns in so that your impalas and your other antelope can't get in. And you, of course, work all that fertilizer in, that we've made now.
Okay.
But then also, just to give it a bit of a push, is we sow grass. So if it rains, we bring in quickly the grass. And then all these beautiful grass comes up. And that gives, for the next year, not only, that opportunity for the second species to start growing.
Oh, right.
But you are able to utilize land that were actually just dry. So, there's a lot of thought, around
You have to be
this.
inventive in this. You have to do, you have to think about conservatism, but also the economical thing, to be able to go from this generation to other generations, to keep going and keep going. And this is great. You're doing a lot of things.
I think that comes from, all the different, I want to say, experiences I had in life, and utilizing those experiences and into something that, I can carry on and leave for generations to come. But I always say, you are just as strong as your weakest member in your team. So having good team members is really crucial.
You said you can do it yourself,
Yes.
even though you're a superwoman. You have to be with people that cares,
Yes.
that people that wants to do better and that knows more than you also.
That's true. That's really true. And, that, or actually also getting excited with you about, projects, and that wants to, improve ways as well, what we do, and looking, are there not better ways? So it also gives people then that ability to go and do their own research and come, back with, okay, I learned this, I read this, what do you think? And then we can discuss those things. So that is also amazing, is to see how people grow and actually also find their strengths in things.
And I believe that also sharing the time with the elephants and the beautiful stories that they have is also a better way to make things happen. If you love your job and you know that your job of what you're doing is meaningful, I think that you have the power to keep going, right?
I think it is definitely inspirational. Mm-hmm. If you also you're excited about the things, and if you start seeing how the small things you're doing changes into bigger things, and if people participate in that, I think it's kind of amazing, because it's the Afrikaans is aansteeklik, but enthusiasm, and somebody else will catch it, and also want to be enthusiastic.
And the circle of life. You're doing the circle of life, so
yes.
people get emotional about it. And that's why you're also here, because it's the third time. We are very fortunate. I know that the Mexicans, we are a great human beings, but this is the third time that you're visiting us. What do you see in the Mexican market that make it so important for you to share these stories about the Jabulani, about the herd? What do you see in the Mexican market?
I think I love the Mexican market. I love the Mexicans, the way, they engage with people, the way of living. But I do think that learning from each other, and then sharing also our wildlife and our Africa experiences, actually can also, if they embrace that, can add so much value to just their daily things of handling things in life,
Mm-hmm.
We all have huge cities with lots of people. And how, people ask me, but how can I make a difference? I would like to do what you do, but we all contribute in our own areas. If I, for example, don't have guests at the lodge, people that don't follow us, then I would not be able to do what I do.
Yes, true.
And that's why, to actually trigger that enthusiasm, to the Mexican, communities as well. And doing anything, even in their households,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of, in a small scale, will be really, at the end of the day, have huge, what's the right word for that now? But have a huge effect. If you look at saving water, we are very into the sustainability of things.
We should be. We did a lot of harm to this planet.
It is, but us humans didn't know all these things, before, and you just build all this, amazing things without thinking what it causes.
Okay.
And even if you think, all this, kind of the silly things we use in a daily base. If I just think, for example, I try to at the lodge not use plastic.
Oh, this is plastic. I'm so sorry.
No, but it's nearly impossible to be, without plastic. But how do you change, from working in a kitchen where all your groceries, all your fruit comes packed in plastic. But that plastic, if I leave it on the reserve and I've got a giraffe eating a bit of plastic, he's going to die.
Yeah, of course.
And, I could see that. So I need to make a change to that. So I need to speak to the suppliers, and think of better ways, not only telling them, but say, okay, my suggestion, how can we improve these things together? And I think that's, is communication, sharing those ideas.
I want all the Mexicans to travel to Africa.
You know what? I always say when I started in the industry, so just when we built the lodge, after my dad passed away, there were nobody staying in the lodge. Okay, so we had this beautiful lodge with nobody staying in it. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do the marketing.
Yeah.
So I started knocking on doors, went to America, to New York, and really, knocking on doors. And without actually knowing what I'm doing, okay? But I told people about my story. They must come.
A very, very great story that you have.
No, but it's
and to inspire people. You're being inspired people around the world, and well, on a more personal note, I have little kids.
Yes.
And for me, thinking about a safari in Africa with the little ones, for me is kind of, what can I say, intimidating, but it is important to do these trips with family, right? And the lodge is prepared to have little kids and families. Why you recommend to visit Africa with families? Because sometimes, or a few years ago, it was like a tendency to go to Africa in a honeymoon.
Yes.
But now you're sharing that it would be better, well, not better, but that it's also an option to do these trips with family.
I think, and that's the same reason why, for example, I work in the communities with children. Mm-hmm. Children are open to take things in. Okay, they are adaptable to things. So the more they're exposed to new ideas, but good ideas, and I think that's where it comes in. So when my children were young, and I want to say primary school, they grew up on the reserve. But then going to the school, there were no big schools around our area, so we had to go back to the city. Mm-hmm. So then weekends, we came, back, and I drove. It's about 5 hours driving time.
Oh, my.
So each Friday we'll drive, back to the reserve. Sundays we'll go.
Going back.
Yes, back. But then over that time, I always took friends for the children, because they need to understand as well, where my children coming from. Mm-hmm. But they were playing. Those days, it was actually the PlayStation was like the favorite of the day. But once they're out in the bush, they didn't want to play.
No, they forgot about it.
Yes, they wanted to be outside. They were dirty, They were helping with, feeding the animals. But at 8 o'clock, even at the age of 16, when they were teenagers, they were man down, sleeping at 8 o'clock, because they were
tired.
Fresh air. They were tired, and that is actually how it should be.
Yeah.
And I think having that experiences, to share with people, and to, especially to children, where they are going to be, responsible for the planet, and embracing that, once you're smaller, is what I've seen, the easier it is than trying to change something, once you're older and you actually have your set ways, because it's been imprinted onto you.
I truly believe that. And I'm going to tell you another story. A few days ago that I was preparing this interview, of course, my beautiful and talented team made some questions, but I'm always wanted to know more and do my personal research.
Yes.
I was watching a video of you and the elephants and herd. And my son, that he's 12, and my little kid, that she's 8, well, 12 and 8, but they're always going to be my babies.
Yes.
The older one asked me, like, elephants can be orphans? Yeah. So this this reserve is serving like an orphanage, like for kids? And I was telling, and listen to this beautiful story. They accept them one to another and make a new family. And just to see his face make my heart beat stronger.
And that's, the smaller you can reach out to children. Mm-hmm. In Afrikaans, we've got a saying, and this is now translation directly from Afrikaans. When a tree is small, he can still bend. But as he grows, he gets hard, and he's like, he can't bend to anywhere. So while you can bend him in the right direction.
Yeah, and he was extremely surprised about it. Well, in his mind, he didn't believe that the animals could be orphans.
Yes,
and that was the first idea that came into his. Yes. The little one told me, like, can we adopt an elephant? I was like, I don't think in Mexico, but probably in Africa you can adopt one that lives there. I don't know. Let me ask later. But I did something with them. They start asking more questions about it. And today they asked me before leaving the house, like, good luck in your interview. I'm so excited. I want to see it. So it changed all my perspective for Africa just doing this interview. And now that I have the opportunity to talk to you, I can barely tell you the great job that you're doing. And thank you for being here today. Thank you for being at Being, and thank you for what you're doing to make a better world for all the humans that live in here and for all the animals and everything that you're doing. Thank you, Adine, from the bottom of my heart.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me and to share my story. Because as I said,
it's an amazing story. Oh, before we go, can I have one more? You have a lot of elephants. I have to read this because I can barely pronounce the names. Kanisha.
Yes.
Kumbura.
Yes.
Timisa. Each elephant in the herd has a story.
Yes.
No matter how many times you share it, which one continues to move you? That's a hard one.
This is a hard question, and I think most people that knows me will say Kanisa.
Kanisa. Why?
No, but it's not.
Ah, okay. But I want to hear about Kanisa and the other one.
Okay, so Kanisa is the one that, I've spent day and night with and in and out. But the one with the story that I will always remember is Kumbura. The reason for that is Kumbura means remembrance.
Okay.
And she arrived 3 years after my dad passed away, on the exact date that he passed away. And she was in a very, very bad condition. And I thought she will die. She did not take, a bottle. Mm-hmm. She was so weak. There was nothing of her left. And she pulled through. And if I look back, and sometimes I would have thought, nearly giving up on her, because the one bull that took her in, and kind of as the mother, but maybe as the father, because each female had a calf, and she did not have at that stage, one. So the dad took her over,
Mm-hmm.
And helping her, when there were fights among them, or and stood by her. But that looking just back, how she's now taking care of a Temisa and a Kanisa. She's so fond of them, and she's so caring. But yet, she did not have that one female that really just adopted her.
Mm-hmm.
She had a bull taking over. And I think from that it's like, sometimes we think, if you lost your mother, and you only have a father, and a daughter, shame. But I think you're so adaptable, and if you just have someone that really cares for you in your, and this is not a family even, because it's now a family, but at that stage, but if you have one person that really cares for you, you can face the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am gonna cry. She's crying. Oh, no. We are all crying. Oh, thank you for sharing.
No, thank you.
And we are all crying. Mauricio is crying too.
And sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
The stuff that I prepared, and whatever, was a little bit more without emotion.
No.
I did not use that.
We are human beings, and we are females, and I'm so glad that you can share everything with us. That's what you did.
Yes.
And the question was that.
Yeah.
And it's still moving, and it moves us all around. No sé de dónde voy a sacar fuerza para dar esta conclusión. Gracias por estar el día de hoy con nosotros. Es el capítulo más emotivo que he tenido. Espero ustedes también lo hayan sentido. Si venían en el coche, denle un vistazo en YouTube porque no pueden perderse estas emociones, esta gran persona que está cambiando el mundo y soy muy afortunada de estar aquí. Gracias por estar en Bein. Denle la campanita y síganos en todas las redes sociales y en las plataformas de audio. Gracias. Bein. Conversaciones inspiradoras con las voces que transforman.
Bein es una producción de Lucid Films.